Hello, everybody. Oh, I didn't turn my lights on. Ugh. Lights, camera, actione. Actione? Sh. Hello, welcome. Hi, everybody. Hello. Welcome to Wednesday. Wait, no, Thursday. It's Thursday today. Oh, thank you much. Thank you much for the stretch. Oh, I feel like I bonked my head. Hi, everybody. Good morning. We're going a little bit early today for a couple of reasons. One, I don't hate streaming at this time. And two, I mean, this is closer to my schedule before I started like doing the move and everything, so nothing that weird. But I also have another stream later today talking about Scientology with Chris Shelton, and so I did want to. If I went live at 1, I would have, I would have only been able to stream for an hour before having to leave to go to the other stream. So I was like, oh, I'll just start early. And I woke up like 20 minutes ago, so that's how we do. That is how we do. Debate Hub at 12 your time. Is that at 12 your time? It's at 3 for me. All right. So today we're going to look at some of like the way people on the internet are reacting to the trade negotiations because I think that's like a good way to get a beat on it. Now we might not watch every single minute of every single one of these. Depends on how we feel about it and whether or not we think it's going to be like the reaction is and response is going to like spur some valuable conversation or give us some valuable information. So, you know, if we hate it or if we just don't feel like watching the rest of it, but and we decide to move on, it's no big deal. It's not meant as a slight unless I say so. In which case it definitely is. And fuck whoever I'm talking about. All right. So we're gonna start with Tyler. I don't dislike Tyler. His cadence a little bit goofy, but I'm here for it. Like I'm just a typical average. I'm concerned about with how much, and I what I appreciate about Tyler is that he has spent time learning, and he has spent time like that was his whole goal was to be like I want to learn a little bit more about things outside of the United States. So things outside the United says 12 p.m. What? What? Are you talking about? Is it 1 my time? It might supposed to be 1 my time. Whatever it says is right. Whatever it says is correct. So it's fine. Whatever it says is the correct thing. I just might be wrong. But thank you for telling me. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, I appreciate that Tyler, and he's gone out of his way and has learned. My only concern with Tyler is I don't know how long he gets to keep calling himself a typical average American because he seems to have reached the point where he knows more about global politics than the typical average American. So I don't know about that, but okay, let's get into the video. He's talking about American reacts to yeah, I think it's just a brand now. It's not a real thing, but I don't know how much that's like, you know what I mean? I don't mean when I say worry, I don't mean I'm not being too very serious. I just mean like as a well, you know. Anyway, American reacts to Mark Carney explaining why the U.S. trade deal blew up. All right, let's go.
What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react to some statements from the Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, and basically, he's gonna explain why he turned down the US Canada trade deal. You know, that's what many Americans do not understand right now. Why Canada ultimately decided to do that. Now,
Really? Is that true? Is that the vibe you guys? For anybody who's in the United States right now, is that the vibe you get that Americans don't understand why Canadians wouldn't want to take the trade deal? Is that I like? I'm not. Yeah, he's really chewing on it. Yeah, that's what I said. Was his opening's a little bit goofy. He stretches it out a little bit. I don't know what that's about, but I think that's just his. That's just his brand, right? Like just like the character, quote unquote. I'd love to have him on for a chat sometime. That'd be super cool. But I'd be curious to know, is that true? do Americans not know why? Like, why would anybody turn down America? Like, really?
Now, the US government is telling us that the proposed deal was very reasonable, very fair, very, very good for Canada, and that this makes no sense at
The
all,
best.
and that it was actually Canada acting in bad faith that blew this whole thing up. So I can't say if any of that is true or not, but that's the American side of this story. So
He sounds unconvinced.
today, I really want to check this out and hear the Canadian side of things. So let's take a look.
And while we believed earlier this week that we were moving towards a mutually beneficial agreement,
Yeah.
in recent days, the United States proposed new terms that were uneconomic, unfair, and undermined the net benefits for Canada and called into question the reliability of any deal.
Are you kidding me right now?
Are you surprised? Are you surprised? Are Americans surprised by this? He seems frustrated.
You gotta be joking. Oh my God. See, this is exactly why it's so important to, well, actually, to get your news from multiple different sources.
Yes! Oh my god, yes, please. Thank you. Please, people in the United States who get their news and talk about how their news is biased or like there's a big conspiracy deep space state thing in their news. You have access to the internet. Get news from outside of your own country. For the love of God, I beg of you. Yes.
Because this is like basically the exact opposite story of what the United States government has been telling us happened.
Yes, there are subscriptions you can get that will help you curate through and sort through different news sources. Yeah, ground news. Yeah, I would never get. Have you met me? Have you seen my streams? I would never get sponsored. It's very sad. It's very upsetting. But alas, here I am, moneyless. I am totally funded by you guys. So if you want to join the Patreon or become a member or hit me with that Prime subscription over on Twitch, yo, thanks.
And
Son.
this couldn't be more opposite. The US is totally blaming Canada and actually saying essentially the same exact thing, that Canada tried to change the terms or the demands of the trade agreement right at the deadline, right at the very end, tried to pull one over on us or something. Whereas here, when I go directly to the source, Mark Carney himself, and actually hear it for myself, he's clearly saying it was the United States that tried to change the terms of the deal at the last minute.
I think my favorite part about that is now it's just a matter of credibility. Who are you gonna believe? And the thing is Carney could lie out of his ass, and still nobody would believe the Trump administration.
I mean, I said this in another video that I did the other day, and it's that we've actually reached a point where if I have to either trust like Donald Trump's word, who is the president of the United States, or if I have to trust the Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, who is not the leader of my country, but like, gun to my head, if you ask me like, who do you trust more to give you like the most accurate, fair, objective facts of the situation, I'd have to say Mark Carney right about now. So if this is just
I think on average, if people were asked who are you going to trust more, an American or a Canadian, like if you would you rather be in the woods with a bear or a man? It's the same kind of question, right? Would you rather trust a random Canadian on average, or would you trust a random American at average? You're probably going to pick the Canadian.
Just like a he said, she said situation, which somehow we've gotten.
I should say that I have not watched these videos ahead of time. And I will also point out that, yeah, I don't think this is a he said, she said situation, but this is what we're being presented with right now.
To that point where, like, I can't even trust what our government is telling us happened.
I can see why Americans feel like this is a he said, she said situation. And I think I can understand why, based on what Tyler is telling me, American news outlets are saying. Yes, Atlantic. The U.S. is trying to turn it into a he said, she said, yeah.
That's really sad.
You're right.
And putting that aside for a second, which is difficult because that's very disturbing to think.
Yes, it's very sad and very unfortunate that your administration is trying to turn negotiations between two major countries that have wide access, range, and trade, and are border countries with one of the longest borders in the world, is trying to turn this into a he said, she said situation. Hello, welcome, Karma.
But putting that aside, just thinking about what Mark Carney is saying here, then that makes all the sense in the world for why Canada would not agree to this trade deal if it's not the deal that you thought you were getting. Or maybe Canada thought that you're getting like a pretty good terms, pretty good deal, you know, whatever the concessions were going to be. And you were ready to say yes. That's what Mark Carney is kind of alluding to. He said it was going pretty good, actually, until the very end. And then at the last minute, it all fell through. Because the U.S. or whoever the hell we have negotiating these trade deals. I've heard several names thrown around, like Jameson Greer or Howard Lutnick or something. Like some people, like some people.
It's both of them. Usually, trade negotiations, particularly between large countries, are done by multiple people. I've been in negotiations before, just over smaller things that still also have roughly around 4 people involved. So it's not uncommon that you'd hear a couple of different names. But I think what we're understanding from what Tyler's putting down is that the American team is, at least to their own citizens, unclear, right? They're unclear, but they're, I don't know. The Americans aren't sure who's on their negotiating team.
People that are part of the Trump administration, that if you know a little bit about them, you totally would understand why this deal ended up being a massive failure. If that's the truth of how... It's all starting to make a lot of sense to me.
In short, they asked too much, and they offered too little. More fundamentally.
Like any negotiation.
Not what you would hear here, by the way. Not. If all you did was listen to the U.S. government, you would get a completely opposite description, which is unbelievable. So we wanted too much, offered too little. That is quite literally the most textbook case of don't take that deal. And we're not
American exceptionalism.
Even getting into the specifics yet. We're gonna get into the specifics of what exactly were these changes, what exactly were the terms of this deal that were so bad.
The cumulative effect of U.S. demands revealed the limits of their commitment to a true economic partnership.
Wow. I am dying to know the specifics.
He's like, give me the tea.
Because based on everything that I'm hearing here, this was like the worst deal ever. Probably just economically speaking for Canada, but also he's saying we were trying to set up some of the things so that even in the long term, it was going to be worse and worse and worse for Canada as time goes on.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what that entails. This sounds like a joke. It sounds like this wasn't
does.
even that hard of a decision for Canada to say no.
Yeah.
As I said earlier, as a result, last evening I suspended trade negotiations with the United States and directed our negotiators to return to Ottawa.
Wow. Okay. We got a lot of clips here to go through. Here's another one, because Mark Carney made a press statement about this whole thing that was like 20 or 30 minutes long. You can watch the entire thing. I have a couple highlights here that I want to take a look at.
Yeah, that's fine.
The U.S. introduced at the last hours, efforts to restrict our ability to have other trade deals. You heard me say a moment ago what we
What? What?
This goblin is Joe Cat's goblin. Yeah, I bought the Joe Cat goblin.
What? What? What?
Yeah,
We did what?
that's been confirmed, by the way.
I mean, I'm expecting some pretty stupid things at this point, some pretty outrageous requests. Even I was not prepared for that. We're demanding what from Canada? That you don't make any trade agreements with anyone else? Is that what he said?
That's a little bit broad of an interpretation. It would have been under certain circumstances, under certain, like, don't trade your oil with other people, for example. It'd be stuff like that. Or like America's getting first calls to specific resources and things like that. Things of that nature.
Is this right?
the U.S. introduced at the last hours, efforts to restrict our ability to have other trade deals.
What timeline are we living in right now? Where the United States, acting in good faith, that we
This is what we got when we killed Harambe. I stand by it.
any notion that Canada would ever agree to something so outrageous.
Yeah.
Part of the US-Canada trade deal that we wanted was demanding that Canada not have the ability to make trade deals with other countries.
Yes.
I don't know if I've ever heard of something so crazy.
You heard me say a moment ago what we've accomplished in the last year, 20 new deals, economic and security partnership.
Yeah.
The prospect of doubling our market access because we believe in free trade. We're the partner of choice in many respects for countries around the world, and the Americans wanted to restrict that. They had.
I mean, that's no wonder Canada said no. Just based on that alone, that's insult. That's an insult. It's
Yes, it is.
outrageous.
It's one of the reasons why people think that Trump's negotiating team was tanking it, tanking the negotiation on purpose.
What is the United States even saying by requesting such a thing? Basically, that we want to own Canada.
Yes.
Basically,
Yes.
all but in name. Like
Uh-huh.
Canada would still be called Canada, but we dictate the terms in which Canada can do trade with other countries? You're basically...
It's basically turning us into a vassal state of the United States, which is, Trump's entire thing since he got into office. Since he got into office, Trump has been saying he wants to own Canada, that he wants to harm us economically so he can take advantage of that so he can take over Canada, that he wants us to be a 51st state. This has been his MO the entire time. He's trying to push boundaries to see what he can get away with, and Canada's just gonna tell him no. Because he's gotten away with this kind of shit in other countries. Other countries have been like, okay, yeah, whatever, take what you want. Yeah, whatever, we don't care. We're just gonna ride out it being Donald Trump and assume that whoever takes Donald Trump's place in the near future is going to undo a lot of this stuff. But here's the thing. Joe Biden didn't undo a lot of the stuff that Donald Trump did in his first term. So it's not reasonable to expect that because the problem with the United States right now isn't necessarily the people that live there. The problem is the structure under which they are living. The structure is enabling and causing these things. This is why when Donald Trump goes out of office, Canada should not change its positioning. Because it doesn't matter who the president is. The structure is the problem.
Basically a U.S. territory at that point.
Yep.
What?
We're going to become Puerto Rico.
Who came up with that? What?
King Trump.
It's almost hard for me to process because it's so outrageous.
Valid.
And it's like you said, Canada has had such massive success in this exact endeavor.
And the United States government is scared of that. The United States has been a superpower for such a long time, and now the global everything is shifting in a way that America is being left behind, which is a scary prospect for an entity that's been in power for so long.
Going out, creating new trade agreements and partnerships with other countries. And for the last year or more, that's all Mark Carney's been doing. It almost makes me think that the United States is mad or
scared.
Dare I say jealous?
Jealous. That's a good one too.
Canada? That you're going out and making.
I am convinced that Donald Trump wants to be Mark Carney. He wants the world to look at him the way the world looks at Mark Carney. That's what he views himself as. That's how it is. And so, like, because he thinks he's Carney, he's seeing Carney do all these things, but he thinks he can do that better because he thinks that's who he is. And so, like, Carney also shows, like, quite the mirror positioning. A lot of Carney's speeches and a lot of the way Carney behaves is the antithesis, purposefully so, of the way Donald Trump behaves.
Making deals with other countries? Why else would we demand that you not be able to do that?
Language that they wanted to restrict, unacceptable.
Language.
But when it moves
French.
into restrictions,
he's gonna miss that.
and using Canada effectively as more leverage for America, clearly Canadians wouldn't accept that.
America using Canada as leverage basically means whether it's trade or military. I don't know the details for sure. It's basically just saying that if America does this, then Canada's going to do that type of thing. And so it means that the United States gets to leverage Canadian resources and Canada itself in its favor, as if Canada were a vassal state.
Oh, this is a joke. This is a joke. The trade deal was a joke. If these are actually the terms that the U.S. was demanding, it became a complete joke. Who would ever agree to this?
We're a proud, independent country. We've got the right values. We'll make our decisions about who we want to trade with and how. And including on how we work with the United States. Then there's a separate issue, and I'll just stop with a sentence here, which was language which suggested restrictions in terms of our ability to execute trade deals, which would always be unacceptable to this government.
Okay. See, the fact that this isn't like front page news here in the United States is like a travesty. I feel like there's a lot of Americans who don't realize the extent of, for one thing, how criminally just antagonistic, threatening, and insulting this is towards our ally, Canada, for one thing. And just kind of piggybacking on that, the extent to which how outrageously stupid and greedy and power mongering proposing such a deal really says about us. All right.
Yeah, this is your global representative. This is the guy who represents your country. So it's hard to be like, well, this is what the rest of the world thinks about America because this is what Americans chose to represent them on the whole. It's good that it's helpful though that the rest of the world has a good idea of what Trump's approval ratings actually are. But it's not so good that the United States doesn't have very good, thorough access. I think that their like journalism has failed the American people, in my humble opinion. But you know,
And our government and our leadership. I feel like every American needs to know these details because I didn't know about this. What? Because yeah, it feels like something like that the U.S. rightfully should be ashamed about. So we're just not talking about it.
if
Unbelievable.
we ignore it, it'll go away.
What else?
I'm hoping you can tell us what the specific last-minute changes that the Americans proposed that made a deal
Specifics.
untenable.
Thank you for the question. Look, I would say two things. One is there are some specifics, and I'll give you some examples, but it was also a cumulative aspect, as I mentioned in my remarks, about the willingness Donald Trump in total to enter into a true economic partnership.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I understand what he's saying. Like,
Yeah.
just generally speaking, it just sounds like this whole trade deal was an opportunity for the United States. Not even just with trade. Like, I don't blame any country for trying to like get a good deal for themselves, trying to, bolster their economy, get even I don't even blame anyone for trying to get a better deal than another country, to a certain extent.
Sure. Yeah.
That's all fair play, negotiations and trade. That's how I get it. That's how it works. But this is something else. This is like the United States going way out of line with some of these demands.
But in terms of specifics, I'll give you three, and I know there's other questions. First, with respect to the auto industry, both in terms of the level of the tariffs, the treatment of Canadian content, so Canadian parts, Canadian steel, Canadian content in vehicles, the scope of the tariffs. The Americans wanted to limit it to autos only, not include medium and heavy autos and light trucks, to be more specific, not include medium and heavy duty trucks, which is a big change.
So we that's a whole other thing. It's hard to even discuss this trade deal anymore in a serious manner.
Tyler has gotten the gist of it. Yeah, Tyler's on board. He seems to know what's up.
Because it's so obvious how crazy it was. Like, it's preposterous. Like, this, if we
I gave Tyler a hard time when I saw that when Donald Trump was at the G7 in Canada last year, or the G7 meeting, where Donald Trump said some very wrong things about what the G7 was and why, and Tyler didn't really get it, so he just kind of went with it. And I was like, you needed to Google this. You needed to Google this before you put this out.
We throw out the most egregious, most ridiculous
He's got
stuff.
it this time.
This was enough already to be like, this isn't really good enough for Canada. The fact that the U.S. wanted to continue a lot of the tariffs, not exempt a lot of automotive things, and so the tariffs were still going to be in effect, maybe changed in some way, but I know that already.
G7 where he said a bunch of wrong things and ran away. Yeah, that one. Karma said something about, since when has American journalism been for Americans? Yeah, yes, exactly. You got it.
It was probably pretty disappointing to Canada.
Obviously, and with respect to Ford's new plant, for example, in Oakville, which is F-350s, 450s, 550s, they would have been excluded. GM Silverado. Same thing, would have been excluded from that. No rationale, just for exclusion. So effectively moving into a series of terms that would made the production more uneconomic over time. Okay, so that's
obviously horrible.
That's a change. That restriction, that clarification, that precision was a change.
Oh, that was a change. Okay, see that. There's so many aspects to this. The terms of the deal were already pretty which goes completely against the United States reporting that this was a very fair deal for Canada. Like what? Like the way some of the U.S. government officials framed this is like, Canada is so stupid for not taking this deal. This is one of the best deals we've ever given out, and it's like,
You mean propaganda? You mean it's propaganda? You're being propagandized.
if you actually put in a little effort and learn about the details and see the Canadian side of this negotiation, that is a total bold-faced lie.
Yes.
This is like one of the worst sounding deals of all time. I bet objectively, like if you ran that through AI or
Oh God.
of all the deal, compare it to all the deals in history, it would be like, this is one of the worst deals ever. Like, right down there with like Alexander the Great taking over some country, and like Alexander the Great is like, the terms of the deal are that you're all my slaves and I own your entire country and all of you and get to do whatever I want. And I am your king.
Yeah.
That's the deal. You know, it's like that. It's like that level. That's the level of Donald Trump's deal.
I'm gonna just jump in here and maybe explain this a little bit, because it does seem to be getting a little bit lost in the sauce. About the Ford, like 500, whatever, the Oakville plant and the heavy duty trucks and Canadian content. What they're talking about is they had a deal that may or may not, like, that was acceptable enough for trade in the auto sector. And then at the last minute, fucking Howard Lutnick kicked in the door and said, wait, no, but except for these things, except for these ones, and then just tossed that on the table and expected Canada to be like, oh, okay, well, we just want to get this deal signed, so okay, and then sign off on something that would have been really bad for us in the long term. I don't know if it was specifically Howard Lutnick. I'm just whatever, or Greer, whichever one it was. It's that kind of a situation, that kind of a changeover for something that would have been like ubiquitously one-sided.
The U.S. introduced at the last...
Sorry, not ubiquitously. That word doesn't fit there. Ignore that I said ubiquitously.
In the last hours, efforts to restrict our ability to have other trade deals.
Right, okay. So we saw this bit already. Just knowing that this is stuff that the United States tried to just toss in at the last minute. What are we doing?
Yeah, for example, like throwing in that you're not allowed to trade with other countries under these circumstances, just fucking...
What are we doing? It's outrageous. Like, no wonder nobody wants to... Who in their right mind after this would want to do trade with us? Why would Canada ever want to negotiate trade deals with us ever again? Out of necessity is the answer. But
yes.
Who would ever want to have anything to do with the U.S., Donald Trump, our government, our trade?
All this just reminds me of Steve and his slave contract. Man, this has been hitting me in a weird way where I'm like, oh, this all seems really familiar. I don't know why fucking dipshits like this think these kinds of things. It's like they think Canadians are stupid, I guess. I don't know.
When this is what we're doing at the last minute, we're like, we're just trying to pull a fast one. It's like, okay, we got the whole deal written up, and someone pulls out their rusty Sharpie marker running out of ink. Some U.S. trade rep is like...
And they gotta wet it, so they lick the Sharpie marker to make it work. Yeah, thanks for backing me up, Atlantic.
And we also are the lords of your land. We decide all your laws, and we get all your money and your people and everything. It's all ours. And they just add that in right at the end, really small, and just hope you don't notice. That's basically what we're doing. It's Canada is not falling for it, I guess.
Last spring, I warned that America is trying to break us so they can own us. And I promise that that will never, ever happen.
Jeez.
We are keeping that promise. Canada is becoming stronger and less dependent on America. We are already giving ourselves more than they can take away.
There were people who thought that statement was a little too bold. when he first made this statement, like that
Yes.
that was blowing things out of proportion. It was going too far. Mark Carney's like kind of it's all being justified now. Like this statement that he said, that's right. It's all coming to fruition now.
Brick with Eyes points out that Trump already walked away from his own deal. The USMCA, CUSMA, or whatever what is it, Mexico, US, Canada, MUSCA? I don't know, was negotiated under Trump. No country can trust Trump to keep the deals he makes. Everyone just needs to move on and America needs to bleed, says Brick with Eyes. I think America is bleeding. I think America is hemorrhaging. There is I keep saying I need to like maybe make this analogy or maybe do a more one-to-one thing in like maybe a separate video or something, but America is currently experiencing the four horsemen of the apocalypse. This is like four horsemen biblical type shit. Now, it's still just starting. We're still in the early times of it. We still got 2 more years of Donald Trump and the midterms are coming and there's no guarantee that the Democrats are going to win the midterms. People are hopeful, but that doesn't mean anything. And not until that hammer comes down, right? Because barring like, already doing illegal shit, hedging fucking bets on top of like futzing with ballots and stuff is already a thing that's going on. But regardless, four horsemen of the apocalypse. Death, war, plague, famine. And they're all going to get worse. Look at what is happening with the food in the United States right now, where things are getting recalled. Every day, like, you're not going to have potash anymore. That's going to be that because that comes from Canada. You're not like the farmers are fucked. They're telling everybody that they're fucked. Plague. My guy, the measles are back. It's only a matter of time before polio is in the United States. War. Do I really need to explain that one? do I really need to? Besides the fact that fucking Trump is in bed with dictators like Putin and Kim Jong Un, but look at what he's doing with Iran. Oh, and fucking Netanyahu. Let's not forget about that. Plague is also kind of it's already happening with the parasites in the food. Death. The result of the other three. This is what's happening. You're screwed. You're cooked. Absolutely burnt, roasted, toasted. And this is not something that a new administration can fix, especially when there's still 2 more years of this nonsense. Regardless of the midterms. So you still got 2 more years of Trump fucking kicking dirt everywhere and shitting all over the place and fucking dismantling and destroying stuff.
Last spring, I warned that America is trying to break us so they can own us.
Some people thought it was an exaggeration, but like as an American myself, based on what I'm hearing here today, this is an understatement. We're not even trying to hide it based on some of the concessions we're asking for.
Personally, I thought that what Cardi said was true. I thought it was aggressive language, but not necessarily problematic.
Not even try to hide the fact that we're trying to harm Canada. Donald Trump has openly said that he wants to own Canada. That's not a secret or anything. He's openly said that. So.
Oh, hey, look, that's something we looked at.
Real quick, I want to take a look at this document. A couple people sent me a link.
This document is a bit of a stretch, calling it a document. This is a graphic that was put together that has not... This is an unsourced, unconfirmed, speculative document. It's roughly correct on most of the main points, but it is an unconfirmed, not in totality document. I looked at this document yesterday. We talked about that, but
to this document,
take care, Josh.
Which is supposed to be sort of an overview, a summary of the U.S. demands in the Canada-US trade negotiations. I did see at the very bottom that it says these are just reported demands. These are not confirmed by
Oh, good.
both governments, which I think it's still fair to take a look at it because there's a lot
Yeah, it's a lot of read between the lines stuff. It is, but I like that he's pointing out that it is unconfirmed. Yes.
of stuff. Like at this point, we're actually living in a world where the US government and the Canadian government have totally different like reportings on the same event. So you have to go with something. But just for transparency, this document is not like 100% verified by statements by both governments. So you are trusting one government or the other here with the validity of these. But let's take a look. I assume these are pretty accurate. These are
I'm not sure where this document originated.
the U.S. demands. The U.S. wanted veto over strategic infrastructure partnership. Yeah, we saw this. Canada must submit major foreign investments to a U.S.-Canada review board, giving U.S. veto power over foreign investment in Canada. It's outrageous. It's criminal. It's criminal. The United States wants the ability to control Canada, control who invests in Canada, control who Canada partners with. We want to control you. That's the craziest thing that I learned today. Number 2, trade.
I think Tyler has improved in the way that he approaches these topics and the way that he approaches, because I think he just has more knowledge. He knows more now. And so I think he's improved, personally. And I've been watching him for a while.
Restrictions in non-U.S. nations. Canada must align with U.S. sanctions, exports, tariffs on third country nations, giving up the right to set independent foreign trade policy. It's basically more about how Canada wouldn't be able to determine its own trade policies and destiny. Jurisdiction. The U.S. demands guaranteed right of first refusal for all critical minerals. Oh, we want your resources, your minerals.
Oh,
I'm not shocked
surprising.
at all that we would want first dibs on that. That's a huge reason that Donald Trump wants to like take over Greenland, is for
If the United States had done nothing, they probably would have had that.
their resources as well. Venezuela for oil and stuff. This is not the first time heard of the U.S. doing that. Rescinding the digital services tax. Canada must repeal legislation on this digital services tax that the U.S. was very mad at. I think that's been rescinded already. I'm not sure. Elimination of
I don't think
cultural
so.
and language protections? Huh? U.S. demands to dismantle Canadian content quotas, roll back the Online Streaming Act, exempt U.S. goods from provincial language laws, targeting Quebec's French language protections. What? So, wow. Talk about insulting. That's part of Canadian culture that you guys have French. There's French on all your products and labels, right? The United States.
It's okay, embrace the cringe. Brick with Eyes says, so we just want to strip Canada of their sovereignty. This is a long-winded way of saying we don't want Canada sovereign. Yes, yeah, it's been like that since his first term.
States wants the ability to not have to deal with the French aspect of Canadian products.
Yes.
Like if we
correct.
want to sell something in Canada, like our alcohol, we don't have to put the French labeling on it. Like we don't want to deal with that. That's basically a middle finger to just a huge part of Canadian culture, right?
It's that on top of, like, if you want to broadcast in Canada, you have to provide the broadcast in French as well, and with French subtitles, depending on what you're talking about. As well as, like, the amount of what has to be considered Canadian content. But
that we just
Go
don't
on.
want to deal with. Elimination of Buy Canada? What? Canadian governments must grant American companies equal access to public infrastructure, banning preferences for Canadian or local supplier. Unbelievable.
Ray is saying this list is proven fake. Do you have a citation for how and where?
If these are all true,
Or just at least tell me, what do you mean?
if this is all true, it's irredeemable. This is
Yeah.
insanity. And I'm glad Canada did not agree to this trade deal, because I don't agree with any of this. This is no way to treat our friend, historical ally.
Yeah, this is embarrassing. This is embarrassing. The people from the United States should be embarrassed. This is embarrassing.
Historical trading partner, a country that, like every other country in the world, really loves and gets along with. Why are we treating you like this? Why are we doing that? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. It's
In Canada, Beast Wars was changed to the name Beasties.
the greediest, most power-hungry, like, words can't even describe. Like, who would come up with this stuff?
Ray says we're willingly being lied to. Didn't I ask you how it was proven wrong? How is that willingly being lied to? Please elaborate. Karma says because everyone else loves Canada and gets along with them. Literally that. Yeah, fact.
United States, American citizens should be, like, angry at, like, embarrassed. I am.
Pointer.
This
Yeah, it's
is
embarrassing.
the fact that we're doing this, too. We're the ones doing this.
This is why bridge traffic has been way down. Yeah, it is.
Eliminating Buy Canada, absurd. Like, so much of this stuff is so hypocritical, too, because here in the United States, we're all about America first.
Saying that some of these things all being presented at the same time, I didn't catch who said that in the chat, but you make a valid point. I think this is more of a situation where one thing was said that was like something like, we want America to have priority in X, then applies to multiples of these things.
But Canada can't have Buy Canada? We're all about free market, free trade.
No, you're
But
not.
Canada can't determine its own trade
That's the thing. No, you're not.
policies and partners? We're incredibly hypocritical.
We listened to the CBC Trade Minister interview yesterday.
Dismantle agricultural safeguards.
Yeah, here you can see at the bottom of this image it says these are reported U.S. demands. Not all were publicly confirmed by both governments. Canada has rejected several as unacceptable. Source: Global News, August 21st, 2026. Quote, Canadian official documents reveal U.S. trade demands in failed tariff talks, end quote. Globalnews.ca/news/12023/Canada-trade-demand-US/something.
Altering auto rules, pharmaceutical patent extensions. We demand extended data exclusivity for what we want.
Sorry, I should be clear. On CBC News yesterday, we watched the Canadian Trade Minister.
To get up in your pharmaceutical healthcare stuff, priority allocation of your energy, military mandates, that's already something we've been asking for, bugging Canada about the Arctic defense and stuff. That's kind of old news.
Ray, settle down. We can't assess the information until we watch and see what the information is. Calm down. And you're not providing any information. So if you want to provide some information, you can do that, and we'll take a look at it. But until then, it's just like what your opinion, bro.
Lowering customs.
But I mean, Ray brings up the point that we talked about earlier. If it's a he said, she said situation, right? If it's this is what Trump is saying and this is what Mark Carney is saying, you can make a personal assessment, right? You can decide about whether or not you trust Donald Trump or whether or not you trust Mark Carney, right? This is not the actual case that's not true. That's not what this is not a dichotomy. That would be a false dichotomy in that scenario, in the current scenario we're sitting in. But if you're not willing to put in the work. And if you're not willing to watch to see what people said, if you're not able or you're not capable enough to be able to read between the lines or research any of this stuff yourself, and you need to make an assessment about who you're going to trust, you can make that assessment. But please, by all means, walk us through your assessment as to why anybody should trust Donald Trump or why anybody should trust Mark Carney, and then why anybody should not trust Mark Carney and why anybody should trust or should not trust Donald Trump.
Reducing the tax threshold for cross-border commerce just for the American side? We really want everything.
Sorry, Ray, you're barking up the wrong tree.
And pushing for stronger investor-state dispute mechanisms, allow foreign companies to challenge Canadian laws. We just want to screw over Canada. We just want to control Canada, screw you over. This was eye-opening, to say the least. I'm so glad I took some time to check this all out, because, like I've said, it goes completely opposite a lot of the stuff that we're being told here in the United States about Canada, and this really gave me a lot of clarity. My God. Crazy. Well, it all makes sense to me now. Of course, Canada. Mark Carney didn't agree to this U.S.-Canada trade deal. This is the biggest joke of a deal I've ever seen. If even half of this stuff is accurate, this is the biggest joke ever. It's an insult what the United States tried to pull over here. So I don't know where this leaves us, what the future holds, but Canadian negotiators must be like shaking their head still now.
Yeah,
like,
no doubt.
What the hell did I just go through? 'Cause that's how I feel.
You know what? Props to our Canadian team who's been down there and like sacrificing themselves and their sanity for our country. I can only imagine the smell that they've had to endure.
Even from the American perspective.
Oh no, Ray. Oh, Ray, no. Ray, do you have any idea how much debt, American debt, is owned by Canada? Just a yes or no. Just a yes or no.
Hearing what we demanded, it's just makes your head spin. So that's crazy. No wonder this is such a disaster.
I'm curious to know if this is what American people wanted from Canada. Like, are these terms that they were interested in? Is this something that the American people have actually been wanting in their relationship with Canada? Because I suspect not. This seems to have surprised the Americans. They seem like they weren't sure what the hell was going on.
And things only seem to be escalating from here.
Also, the U.S. debt has gone over 40 trillion. Yeah, please. Yeah, Ray doesn't know. Ray, sweetheart, dear, darling. Canada owns the 5th largest portion of American debt.
So, it's not good, but I'm glad to be aware of this. So, anyway, if you enjoyed this, feel free.
Let's just do another Tyler one right away, because this is the follow-up, where American reacts to Canadian premiers roasting Donald Trump.
And everyone, I am just a
So before we go into that, let's talk with Ray for a minute. Ray, do you know? Do you know? Would you like me to look it up for you? Would you like me to pull this up for you? Oops. There's a space there. How about this one? $40 trillion. Here you go. Let me pull this up for you. Aren't I so helpful? Look at how helpful I am. Why would we want Mark Carney specifically to own country debt as an individual? That's not how that works. Okay, so we have mutual pension funds, domestic holders, public debt, right? Foreign holders, Japan, UK, China are the top 3. Right? Remember I said Canada is number 5. So let's throw in here. Let me go grab, because I pulled it up before, and I have it saved off to the side, because I knew this was going to come up. I knew this was going to be something that came up. So here's like a couple of visual representations. Let me just grab these real quick. So here's a chart. This is released January of 2026. And this is, well, the national debt in the United States stood at $37.64 trillion. It is now broken 40, right? And so this is January all the way through to October, and this is as of November 2025. Canada is the 5th largest foreign holder of U.S. government debt. Its holding stands at $472 billion, which is triple the amount that it held in January of 2020. So Canada has tripled the amount of debt it owns of the United States. I don't know if you're aware of this. The United States owes Canada $400 billion. $400 billion. Nearly $500 billion. It's probably more than that now. America is in debt. A lot of debt. And again, I would like to point out, at $400 billion, nearly $500 billion, Canada is the 5th largest. 5th largest. Not first, not second, 5th. That means there are 4 other countries that own more debt of the United States, equaling more than $500 billion. Do you want to know how much that is? Do you want to know who it is? You think that'd be useful information for an American dipshit coming around here thinking they know what they're talking about. Top 20 foreign holders. The U.S. Treasuries in 2025. This is as of 2025. Japan number 1 at $1,202.6 billion. Billion. United Kingdom at $888.5 billion. China at $682.6 billion. Belgium at $481 billion. Canada at $472.2 billion. So let's go ahead and add all that together. Just the top 5, right? What do we got? We got 472.2 plus 481 plus 682.6 plus 888.5 plus 1,202.6. That's $3,726.9 billion. You know, for a group of people that wants to view China as like one of their biggest threats, they sure own a lot of your fucking money. You sure owe them a lot. You sure owe them a lot of money. So if you want to talk about unemployment, and you want to talk about whether or not you have a functioning, thriving economy, you may need to consider who owns you. Because the people who own you, what happens when these countries all come calling for this bill? Keep in mind that the United States is going to economic war with not just Canada. They've gone to economic war with everybody. In fact, with the war in Iran, Japan is having an energy crisis, which is hopefully going to be mitigated and helped out by Canada, interestingly enough. Also, if you'll notice in there is Belgium and the United Kingdoms. United Kingdom's very much friendly with Canada. China also not too unfriendly with Canada either. And that's moving in a more positive directions. Yeah, what the US is going to default after the AI bubble crash? The tech giants have been leaking money for like a decade. If you want, like, if this number and chart is too difficult for you to follow and read, Ray, since I'm assuming you ran off immediately as soon as, you know, facts were presented, here's a visualization. Oh, sorry, I lied. Japan is at 1.2 trillion. Not what? Yeah. Oh no, 1,000. Yeah. I was 1.2 trillion. Canada, 7 fucking Christ. Ireland is reducing the debt. Brazil reduced the debt. China reduced. You're so cooked, my guy. They're so cooked. Hong Kong, by the way, is separated from China. If you put those two together. But yeah, these countries have been dropping that debt. And, you know, the United States should be grateful that they're not all dropping it at once. Grateful. You're welcome. You should thank us and wear a suit next time you come by. They never last long, do they? They never last long. How long did Ray last? As soon as I started actually paying attention to him and giving him a little bit of attention, how long did he last? Thank you, Ray, by the way. You made a good excuse for me to bring up this graphic and these bits of information that I wanted to share anyway, so thank you for being a useful idiot. Canada has been accumulating it and literally buying leverage in real time, or leverage in real time. Yeah, we have. Yeah, we have. It's almost like this is the difference between fucking hiring a washed out pedophile, what, real estate nepo baby as to do a job, and Canada hired an economist. Like, brother. Yeah, that man had no stamina. Thank you so much for the stretch. I'm gonna take a quick break. I'm just gonna refill my tea. I'm only gonna be gone for like a minute though, so BRB. Okay, I'm back. What? Let me pause that. Come on back over. Hi, hello, welcome back. I'm just double checking when my stream is a little bit later because I have another stream to do. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to do this one, then I'm going to leave, go do the other one, then I'm going to come back and finish this. Let me just double check what my stuff is. Oh, hey, Ray came back as soon as I was gone. Oh, and now Ray is also talking about themselves in the third person. Very sane, very normal. Yeah, my other stream is at 1 on Debate Hub. If you guys are interesting. All right. Let's get back into this. Wahoo! Let's go! We're just gonna do 2 Tyler videos in a row, and then we'll come back and do the other half.
The typical average American here today to react to a lot of recent statements from several different Canadian premiers, all talking about what they think of.
Yeah, that's the mortgage rates in the United States are insane. It's one of the reasons why we didn't have the crash or didn't hit the crash the same way the United States did. Because the governor of the Bank of Canada at the time was Mark Carney.
The failed U.S. trade deal and what they think of Donald Trump right now and the United States. And
Karma says that if Ray has some kind of genuine neurological problem, I feel genuinely sad for them. They need help and they've probably seldom gotten it. Well, the thing is that's not accessible in the United States. So Ray is simply, unfortunately, the exact reason why the thing that he's touting for doesn't work.
so, honestly, I think there's a lot of Americans like me who aren't happy with the way that the U.S. has treated Canada. And, I don't think that the American government is being totally transparent about what's happening right now between our two countries. So today, I'm really curious to hear what some of Canada's leaders have to say about this situation.
We covered a lot of what the leaders are saying yesterday.
So let's take a look here. Starting with, this is Doug Ford, the Ontario premier, who has been extremely outspoken about a lot of this stuff, right? So
Yeah, that's
I'm very
putting it
curious
politely.
what he had to say.
Do you want to respond to these shots? What would you say to the president?
Oh, okay. So he's made some statements.
The president started talking shit, and then Doug Ford fired back. Because this is what the United States currently does. This is their MO. They start shit, then they can't finish it.
In the last few days, apparently, and then Donald Trump got on Truth Social, social media, and he made some crazy rants, some posts about Doug Ford or something. Like it's difficult to actually keep up with everything that's going on, especially
That's
the way
intentional.
that modern politics, especially with Donald Trump. Maybe that's the main thing. The way
Yes, because it is intentional. It is an intentional strategy that was developed by Steve Bannon.
that he just attacks people on the internet, literally like a troll. But anyway,
Yes.
so I know
Yes.
Trump made some posts
You
attacking
got it.
Doug Ford for criticizing Trump, and
And bringing up his dead brother, which is kind of fucked up.
they're asking what he thinks about that.
No, I don't respond to a dictator like President Trump, a bully like President Trump. As I said before, he's the type of guy in school that would take your lunch money one day, take your toque off your head the next day, and then steal your running shoes.
My God. The only reason I'm laughing, honestly,
'Cause it's
is
funny?
because of he's so freaking Canadian to throw in the toque thing. That's like the hat, or what do we call it? Like a beanie or like a
Beanies
snow
usually.
hat, or I don't know. Has a poofy ball, right? A toque. He he had to throw in, oh, he'll steal the toque off your head. But it's true.
Yeah, PNC makes a really good point. I think it's pretty telling that Donald Trump prefers the liar who was driving drunk and smoked crack. Yeah.
Oh my God. It's actually, given everything that's happened, it's actually refreshing to see these Canadians talking so openly, so brazenly about their true, genuine feelings about Donald Trump. Because, a part of me wants to say, like, oh, when you're dealing with Trump, you gotta
You mean our politicians are people? Yes, that's correct.
take the high road, even though he would never do that. As a matter of fact, Donald Trump's whole persona or his strategy or whatever you want to call it, his insanity is that
Pointer.
he never takes the high road. He'll say anything
Spicy.
and everything. Truth and lies, exaggerations, or whatever about anything.
Yeah, Trump is just outrage culture. He's just outrage culture to try to hold, like, at the sacrifice of anything to try to hold on to the ball, right? The ball. He wants the ball in his court, so he wants to hold people's attention. So it's just outrage clickbait.
Make stuff up to get the message he wants across, to accomplish whatever he wants to accomplish. And it's led him to being the president of the United States. So, I mean, unfortunately, it kind of goes to show you that if you BS your whole life, you can BS your way to the top. Like that's actually a really sad realization.
Well, there's supposed to be checks and balances between point A and point B that are supposed to prevent this kind of thing, as well as the right to a competent electorate, which I would recommend you guys check out at some point. And you can listen to me and Jordan talking a little bit about that over on Debate Hub, where we talked about voter ID last year before.
That you can see with Donald Trump. Anyway, so with that being said, I actually don't mind, especially these Canadians. I saw a video the other day of Wab Kinew, I think, is the premier of Manitoba,
Yes.
speaking very honestly and
Candidly.
openly and kind of aggressively about Donald Trump, just like Doug Ford is here. And I don't mind it. I don't think it's like a cheap shot, or especially when it's like
It's refreshing because your entire caucus is a bunch of fucking cowards, and our politicians are not.
we've really reached the point where
We're not afraid of you.
everything he's saying, like Trump is a bully. He acts like a wannabe dictator. He would steal your lunch money. These are actually just accurate, like, observations about his character. It's not even, it's for a lot of other people, you'd be like, oh, come on, Doug. Like, you don't gotta go there. That's an exaggeration, Doug
Yeah, if it wasn't true, we would give him shit for it.
Ford. No, this is pretty accurate.
But I'm not going to take any advice off a guy that's the king of bankruptcies.
Oh my God. Is this just going to be Canadian premiers like roasting Donald Trump? Is that what this is going to be? Okay. Why not? Like I said, me and a lot of Americans are not happy with Donald Trump.
I think it's very telling that Americans have to go to Canadian politicians of whom they would have never otherwise known the name of to go find people that are critical enough that it's satisfying for the United States citizens. I think that's telling and is really bad. Like, that's bad. That is not good. Because it tells you that the people of the United States don't have people that are representing what they want and how they feel about their government in their government.
With all the stuff he's been doing to Canada and more, the stuff that he's threatened to take over Greenland at one point. He's started this total nonsense war with Iran that we can't get out of now. Screw it. It's just to name a few. It's a disaster. So
Yeah.
I'm ready to receive this. You know, this could be actually kind of therapeutic.
Panama, yeah.
The king of bankruptcies. Didn't he like 6 or 7 Trump owned businesses have like gone bankrupt? I believe that is true, right?
I did a stream years ago about Donald Trump going over his financial stuff. This man doesn't have real money. He does now because he became president and he's, been doing that thing where he does fraud and what's the word? It starts with an E. Embezzlement. Embezzlement. He's doing embezzlement.
Pretty strange for the master of business, the master of the deal. Pretty
deal.
weird. That's a good point.
And he's actually tariffing his own people, taxing his own people.
Yes. I haven't seen too much Doug Ford stuff. I'm more
I want to point out that it might sound silly to people to say that these tariffs are bad for the American people, so why is Canada doing retaliatory tariffs? Would that not hurt Canadians? And the answer is yes, it hurts Canadians, but the projects and the policies of buying Canadian, and because Canadians are already on board and have already been shifting their supply chains around so they're not relying on American products, it does not hit us in the same way that it does the United States. The people in the United States, the businesses in the United States are not ready for this. They are not prepared for this and they are not willing to participate in it. They're not willing participants. Whereas the Canadian people and the Canadian industries are getting bolstered by their own government, both with plans and like $7 billion plus with investment strategies that the government is doing that is encouraging by Canadian and by the Canadian people. The Canadian people are wanting to buy Canadian products. The Canadian people are not wanting to buy American products. So we are far more apt and enable to pull this off as opposed to the United States, which is not unified in this thing. In fact, they're so not unified in this thing that some Americans have expressed that they are in fact going out of their way to buy Canadian products even though they cost more because fuck the United States right now. So it's a short-term pain for long-term strength. Yeah, it's going to hurt for a little while, but we have strategies and things that we're doing that is, even if those tariffs last forever, they're not going to be problematic for our economy. So for anybody wondering why that is and why that might sound silly, it's a little bit counterintuitive. That's why.
more aware of him now, especially since he's so outspoken about Trump. But I'm starting to appreciate, like, he's obviously
His
a
candor.
bit emotional. He is honest, and he can be
You like the cut of his jib? I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the reason you like him is because he's kind of like Donald Trump in that he's like aggressive like that. I'm sorry, Tyler. This is not the guy you're looking for, I promise.
be brash, like, which can be good qualities, but he strikes a good balance of being very
Ew. Sorry, I wasn't saying that to Tyler. I was saying that to Hoyner in the chat. Hoyner said Barron Trump is close with Andrew Tate. Ew.
I don't know what's the word for his demeanor. It's very like normal. Like the way
He's
he's
a guy?
talking, like saying like, oh, F Trump, like, he's
You mean he sounds like the everyman? Isn't that the thing you fell for with Donald Trump? Why? No. Oh, because he's a because he's a brazen businessman. Oh my god. This is the thing. The thing that you like about Doug Ford is the same stuff that people liked about Donald Trump. It's the same thing. You, like, oh, because he's just, he's a straight shooter and he might be talking shit and da 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 da. Yeah, Yeah, though, this stuff couldn't come at a better time for Doug. Yeah, no, yes, you're right. There's so many problems with, like, scandals and money and... Yes, and yeah, he's playing counterpoint. I think I talked about this before, but Doug Ford definitely plays the counterpoint for Mark Carney. Like, he's useful in this type of scenario. I'm not gonna say that he's all bad all the time. I don't like him as the Premier of Ontario. I really wish Ontario would shift a little bit away from its conservative representation and its Tory representation. We'll see. Doug Ford may as well, since he's gonna be here anyway, we may as well get use out of him. And he is very good. He's very much a good, bold, like he used the word brazen, but he's very much doing the, hey, I'm gonna talk shit at you so you don't, distraction for Donald Trump, so Donald Trump doesn't deal or say anything or deal much with the actual thing he should be talking about, which is the stuff that Carney is doing or saying.
Steal the toque off your head, like, you know, it's very honest and normal, what normal people would think and want to say. So it's cool to see that from a politician. And he strikes a good balance of also remaining very professional as well, and very, not just candid, but eloquent in what he is saying as well. It's a nice balance, actually.
And I'm going to make sure I communicate through the U.S. media. I'm going to be reaching out to every single governor, every single senator, and every single congressperson. And when it comes to the midterms, I have a message to the Americans. Don't vote in a person that's going to kill your jobs. He ran.
Yeah.
The fact that the fucking Premier of Ontario is gonna be more active in American elections than the average American is crazy.
I mean, I think you really had to be an American living in the United States to truly understand the circumstances in which Donald Trump was elected for his second term. He made a lot of promises. He was going up against Joe Biden, which then became Kamala Harris. And it was very confusing, and the messaging was bad, and Trump was there with...
This sounds like it's excuses as to why people voted for Donald Trump.
Going on podcasts and YouTube and Twitch streams and running a very modern, very internet-savvy political campaign. I don't like to compliment anything Donald Trump does, but I have to say, I do kind of see how he managed to finagle winning his second term, winning the last U.S. election and becoming president, as unbelievable as it seems. And
no, we were watching. We know. We were there.
Definitely made a lot of promises that have now been broken.
Uh-huh.
And it has totally ruined a lot of the trust and good faith, which is incredible that he had it to begin with, of course.
There you go.
So when Doug Ford is saying, like, the American people should wake up and, you know, not be voting in people who are going to take away our jobs, and I absolutely agree with that, and I feel like there's more Americans now some who have voted for Trump, who are starting to have their eyes opened, starting to understand, like, ever since Trump became president again, everything has been bad. Nothing has been good. We don't look forward to anything. So I think
that's sad. I think that's true, though. I do think that's like a lot of the American vibe right now, is there's not a whole ton of hope for like what the future of the United States looks like, at least in the short term, and maybe a little bit into the long term. But I mean, yeah, because what do you have to be hopeful for? And it's really hard to be hopeful for when your president is driving your country into the ground, like, and then people don't know what to do about it, and they don't have the emotional energy to do anything about it, and you're kind of lost and stuck in this situation of like, what do we do? I don't know what to do. Well, I can't tell you what to do. All I can do is tell you to do what you can to educate yourself, and the more educated you are, the more capable you will become.
I think that's a very true analysis by Doug Ford, and Even him talking about the tariffs being a tax on American people.
Atlantic says, I have to wonder if that isn't part of the plan. If you're so focused on surviving till tomorrow, you aren't thinking about the next week or the next month or the next year. Yes. No. Yes. That is intentional. That's class warfare. That's class warfare. In short, long and short of it.
Like, the tariff thing came out of nowhere for a lot of Americans. It kind of came out of nowhere. Like,
well, then you're dumb. Sorry. I didn't mean that was aggressive. I don't mean that to Tyler either. It came out of nowhere for a lot of Americans. Yes, because you weren't paying attention. You're complicit. You don't know what's going on. Did you see the political swing that happened in Canada almost overnight when Justin Trudeau stepped down and after Donald Trump was elected and Carney went into place? That's because Canadians are paying attention to what's happening in their politics. If Canadians weren't paying attention to what was happening in their politics, that swing would not be as sharp as it was. And it was drastic. Canadians are notoriously slow at changing where they're landing in polling. Notoriously slow. So for something like that to happen is exceptional. And it's exceptional because we are fucking looking at what is happening in the United States, what's going on, like, and what that means for the rest of the world, what that means for us, and what that means for the American people. We're paying the fuck attention. Because that swing would not be as drastic if we weren't looking. Trump did tariffs his first term. He tariffed Canada. And Canada was like, what the fuck? What is this about? What? Huh? What? And then we started preparing for it. So if anybody was surprised that Donald Trump tariffed people and tariffed fucking Canada immediately as soon as he got into office again, you should not be surprised. He said he was going to do it. Donald Trump was incredibly clear about what exactly he was going to do. It's just Americans didn't know what that meant. He made a lot of promises, and in those promises were exactly what he was going to do. Cut government spending. Get rid of healthcare. Get rid of USAID. These things were listed. They wrote them down! And then the furries got it and leaked it to the rest of us. Project 2025 was well fucking established, guys. We knew. We all knew. Everybody knew. You had access to this information. We were surprised. We were caught off guard. Who could have foreseen this? Who could have told us? How could we have known? Ugh.
Oh, we're tariffing Canada. Oh, okay. Like, that's what a lot of Americans kind of reaction was like, oh.
That's the problem. This is why people don't feel bad for the Americans who didn't vote for Donald Trump. And the people who did not vote for Donald Trump and don't like Donald Trump claim to be the majority of Americans. Right? And I think that's probably true. But here we fucking are. Here we fucking are. And we gotta deal with that. So now what?
What's tariffs? What is
tariffs?
Let me Google that.
That was a real thing. That was a real thing that after the fact, the Google search in what is a tariff fucking rocketed into the sky. And it was after Donald Trump had done, it was after. It's too late. You've realized you've signed the deal with the devil after your signature is dried. And we are now we're 2 years into this. 2 years into this shit. Oh, now you're starting to notice? Oh, brother.
Tariff. Not understanding what it is. And that's another thing that as time has gone on, and we've gotten more and more Donald Trump, more Americans are starting to realize how much damage he's doing, how much damage the tariffs are doing to America.
You mean they didn't notice until it happened to them directly because they didn't care if it wasn't happening to them and in fact wanted it to happen to other people? We wanted this to happen, just not to me, not like that. That's not good.
Americans, even though he says they're supposed to help us. And I think
Tactile learners.
more Americans are not getting fooled by the act so much. So anyway, that's kind of my American insight into a little bit of what I think Doug Ford is trying to say here.
On creating more
I think Doug Ford is trying to reach the people who fucking like Donald Trump speaking in a language they understand, because he's the same kind of person.
jobs. Last time I checked, jobs went down in the U.S. and Ontario created more jobs.
Is that true?
Go check.
Jobs went down in the US, but up in Ontario?
Yeah,
Is that true?
I'm just not going to
go look.
take the bait. This guy's a loser. He's going to be a loser, and simple as that.
You, and here's the funny thing, you know, this gets to Donald Trump. Like, you
Oh, yeah, it
know, Donald Trump is chronically online. He watches
He's also very fragile.
this stuff. He cares. He acts like he doesn't care. He acts like it doesn't matter, but he totally cares. So you know, when Doug Ford, oh my God, calls Donald Trump a loser. What a classic. You know, I like that, because you can try to get cute. You can try to come up with like, what?
Is Tyler the creator, with the guy who said the U.S. learns about Canada? Yeah, I think so. He's done, like, he watched, like, a lot of the heritage videos and stuff like that.
Trump is such an imbecile, moronic, Sometimes
He's just a loser.
you just got to go to the classics. And
Yeah.
I
a
like
loser.
that, where he's just like, Trump's just a loser. You know, that makes Donald Trump so mad.
You mean you have to say things on his level? You don't give Trump the middle finger, you give him a thumbs down.
That's why he's like making posts about Doug Ford for this stuff right here.
We're going to fight with everything we have.
I like this guy.
The people in the background,
Yeah.
in the helmets, are laughing.
Yeah.
Which they should be, because it's funny. I mean, it's not funny because it's all true. I don't know.
That's why it is
Don't
funny.
they say that like comedy comes from real life? Like, from some of the darkest things are like, there's some dark humor in it all. I don't know what the words are, but what's happening isn't funny. But what Doug Ford here is saying here, it's accurate and also very amusing.
And
PNC Bio says, what's incredible about Tyler is that he has been doing this for 3 years and seems to have retained very little of the hundreds of hours of Canadian videos he has consumed. I think it's because the intention of Tyler's videos is to remain relatively shallow. I think that's easily consumable, right? It's not getting into the weeds, you'll notice. But I would like to also point out that there is a degree where I don't think he's quite. There's a couple times where I see it where he seems to have like gleaned some insight into like the Canadian mindset, but he's not quite there yet. And I don't know if that's because he doesn't want to, because that might not be good for the direction he wants to take his channel, or he's making a decision to be like, I don't want to try to delve into this. So I don't know if it's you know what I mean? I'm not trying to make a judgment on that. I'm not sure.
you know something? I have more courage, more brains in my baby toe than he has in his whole body. So there you go. I have a lot of real estate on my ass, so he has a lot of room to kiss my ass.
No way. This is a Canadian government official? Right? He's the premier of Ontario, right?
Foreign nation, Chesh. Fuck off. Oh, that's funny. I like that. I like that. Nice picture. That's good. That's funny. Well done.
He can say that? He said it. He did it. He can do that. Does he think about these things
Please send me that photo. I want to see it. Post that on social media somewhere.
beforehand, or
Tag me.
does he just like say these off the cuff? Because it's like what?
Both.
Oh, at least here in the U.S., politicians don't do this. Politicians aren't this funny, or it's relatable too. It's funny.
If there's one thing that you need to understand about Canadians, and they will always vote for somebody who's got a sense of humor. Like, if you have somebody with a sense of humor and somebody who has no sense of humor, they will vote for the person who has a sense. They'll vote for the person that is funny. Being funny is a necessity for a Canadian politician.
It's like I said the other day, I watched Wob Canoe, who was being sincere in his criticisms of Donald Trump, but also being funny. Like,
Yeah.
because I don't know, it's kind of just like open season to tear into Donald Trump, just rip him apart. And this is like the best I've seen. He can kiss my
It is very low effort MS Paint job, nothing special. That's what makes it special, all right? That's what makes it good. Don't put yourself down because it's fucking. I love it.
ass, and he's got plenty of room. plenty of
Atlantic said it's probably not a small part as to why Carney won. It's also a big part of why Justin Trudeau won multiple times and why Pierre Poilievre was never able to beat him. Because Pierre Poilievre is not funny. He's a hateful little wet sock of a person. He was never gonna become prime minister like that. Like, no way in hell. His own party doesn't even like him anymore. And, like, part of that was just, like, an overall push. Right? Jean Chrétien is one of the funniest politicians I've ever heard. Yeah, that man is fucking hilarious. Hey, Ram, what's going on?
ass available from Doug Ford. Okay. Let's keep going. This is the British Columbia Premier calling on Canadians to boycott U.S. travel.
Roxanne says it would be great if Tyler would publicly recognize that both Ford and Wob are from different political parties, neither of which are liberal. Yeah, that would, I mean, I don't think he knows enough to make that distinction. He might also not care enough right now. But yeah, Wob is NDP and Doug Ford is conservative, which should make it very clear to anybody paying attention that not liking Donald Trump is ubiquitous regardless of party. Like, disliking Donald Trump and not wanting to be America does not matter what fucking political party or where you fall on the political spectrum. Everybody in Canada is like, fuck that guy in particular. There is one outlier to this, and it is fucking Pierre Poilievre. And even he is barely out. He's still like, he's still inside the unity box because he literally has to be, because otherwise he's totally screwed.
I know that a lot of the provinces have banned U.S. alcohol, but
It's not a ban.
a lot of the boycotting, what I understand, has been like sort of the Canadian people. It's like
Yes.
organic.
That is correct.
It's not anything to do with the Canadian government. Like, Canadians
Not purchasing Canadian alcohol for our stores is not a ban. They're just choosing not to purchase it.
have decided you don't want to buy American stuff. You don't want to travel to the U.S. That makes
It's gonna
sense
get
to me.
worse.
This is the premier of British Columbia, like, officially asking, like, a government representative of Canada asking people not to travel to the US? Seriously?
We have a travel advisory warning. We've had a travel advisory warning to go to the United States since last year because of your COVID shit, because of your fucking ICE agents. Like, there's been a travel advisory for Canadians against traveling to America since last year. On the other hand, I would like to point out, in my opinion, and I said this last year, and I'll say it again, we should be treating people traveling from America to Canada or to any other country in the world as if they all have COVID. We need to put those COVID restrictions back on because they're carrying measles and probably smallpox and probably scarlet fever and the fucking plague and the, like, motherfucker. You all should be getting quarantined anytime you go anywhere. Otherwise, does Tyler watch my stuff? I don't think so. Not that I'm aware of. I would love to chat with him sometime, but not that I know of. Also, something that I wanted to point out about the boycott, right? And I'll probably have to talk about this again, but I'll do it briefly here. Canada hasn't even started. Like, we're doing a boycott, but it was mostly directed at groceries and like produce. Right? It's mostly been targeted in the grocery store. Mostly. This is going to get worse for the Americans because I think Walmart's next on the chopping block. I'm pretty sure people are just gonna stop shopping at Walmart in totality. Or at next to totality. Because, as far as we're concerned, Walmart's too American. Cars and trucks, yeah, automotive is the next one, and Kraft Dinner. You got it, Tom's got it. Kraft Dinner. Bro, we are going to put Kraft out of business. Alcohol was a huge hit. The grocery stores have done a lot of damage. If we add those 3 other things, they're cooked. Absolutely roasty toasty. Like, this trade war ain't gonna last, man.
I'm asking British Columbians, if you have a choice, please don't travel to the United States.
Yep.
Whoa.
Why are you surprised?
This is like
isn't new.
different than the Doug Ford stuff. Doug Ford
Yes.
is like, objectively speaking, just like the truth. Like, Trump is acting like a baby, a clown, throwing tantrums, making crazy, nonsensical accusations. I did a video learning about the trade deal and the outrageous concessions that the United States was asking for. So now I understand why Canada did not accept the U.S. trade deal. That's all just like factual. This is like, I don't know exactly what I'm trying to say. Somehow this is different. This is like, he's telling Canadians to not travel to the United States. That's like, I don't want to say like his personal opinion. I don't know. Like, of course he can say that. It's just, I don't think I've seen a Canadian government official. Well, no, Wab Kinew said to Canadians, don't buy American alcohol. So this has happened. It just seems to be getting more and more frequent.
There you
just
go.
Canadian government people, like, just so pissed off and so anti-US that they're like saying to boycott, to protest, like literally. Wow. Like this isn't official Canadian policy. That's what I'm trying to say. This isn't like an official policy. This is him getting up there and just using his influence as a Canadian leader to be like, my fellow Canadians, don't travel to that place. Don't go there. We don't like them. Which is, so that's, there's something.
We don't want to get iced, brother.
Something about that. That's it. Things are changing. That just tells me we've entered into a new place. We've entered into a new period.
Yes.
It's
gonna get worse. Like I said, we're not even really doing a full proper boycott, and it's gonna get worse.
Escalation between the US and Canada if this is happening.
Choose another place to do your tourism. If you can choose a Canadian product instead of an American one, please choose it.
Wow.
Right now, Canadian workers from coast to coast to coast need our support. With 50% tariffs imposed.
Yeah, by the way, that coast to coast to coast is actually correct. We have access north and east and west. So coast to coast to coast.
By the president on many products. By being our own best customer, we can help respond and support Canadians in every corner of this amazing country we call home.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, from a Canadian perspective, it makes total sense. I'm just saying, I guess as an American, like, they're not showing this kind of stuff here on the US mainstream news, like on
Correct.
TV. They're not showing us this. I think that's why I'm so taken aback. Not because I don't understand. I totally get it. And honestly, if Americans were in the same position, we'd do the same exact thing. So it's just that in this situation,
Roden says this feels like an 80s teen movie where the rich girl finds out no one likes her when she thought she was the most popular girl at school. Yeah. Yeah. Does Tyler not know how much the tourism has suffered already? No, he's aware of that. He knows. I think he's just I think that like the American maybe I'm misreading here, but I think the United States' mainstream media is so biased and so not informative about anything going on outside of the United States. I don't think that people in the United States want to know what other countries think about them. They're proud to be like, we're us and we're the best and fuck everybody else, that they don't care what other people think, except they very much do care. That's why they won't look. Like, it's a fear factor, in my opinion, overall, but I don't, not necessarily for Tyler himself. It's more of like he's trying to portray that vibe.
the US is the bad guy, which is, painful to say, but
I think what he's acknowledging is like this is now because the trade negotiations have ceased. Before there was like, I think Americans had this sense that, oh, things will just go back to normal when Trump is gone. Oh, things will just go back to normal when they figure out what the negotiation is going to be. Oh, things will just go back to normal. Da 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 da. And Canada has always been the whole time that this is the new normal. And so we're building out what we want the new normal to look like for us. And so with how stringent this Canada walking away from the negotiating table is like a big change for the American perspective. The Americans have never had Canada walk away from them in this type of thing. So Canadians were afraid that that Canada was going to agree to a bad deal, right? And we flipped the table ostensibly. And yeah, the thing is like if you're going to be the bad guy, you're going to get treated like the bad guy.
Every American at this point, like, come on. We can't live with our heads buried in the sand, for God's sake. Like, we got to admit, we're doing some pretty awful stuff under the leadership of Donald Trump, but we voted for Donald Trump. We've elected him into office, so that's not an excuse.
Yeah.
Here's a couple more clips.
So what are you going to do? This is the next step of this conversation that needs to happen. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do about it?
It's Doug Ford again.
I'm glad he didn't sign that deal because it was a bad deal.
Ontario's Doug Ford says he stands by the Prime Minister's decision to walk away.
It was a bad deal for Ontario. It was a bad deal for the auto sector, the steel sector, and manufacturing sector.
I didn't know like how bad it actually was. Here in the US, like if you just listen to the government, if you just listen to Donald Trump, and if you listen to our US trade representatives, they tell us the deal was incredibly fair. We're giving Canada an amazing opportunity. We're treating Canada, this deal is treating Canada better than any other country. We're rolling out the red carpet. Canadians are just crazy.
And yeah, if you're treating everybody else like dirt, that's not really impressive.
For being upset. That's like what our side is trying to tell us. But the other day, I did more of a...
The vultures from Disney's Jungle Book. So what are we gonna do? I don't know. What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? That does seem like what it feels like. It feels like the United States are the vultures from the Jungle Book, and Canada is currently Ryan Gosling in The Notebook. What do you want? What do you want?
In-depth, dive and watch some stuff Mark Carney said. explaining just how awful this deal was for Canada. Some of the stuff that the U.S. was asking for was not just damaging, but frankly insulting to ask for. So I'm not surprised at all to see Doug Ford saying he's glad Canada didn't sign.
Yeah.
I agree. I totally get it. Like it makes sense.
And we never
I think it should be telling to people in the United States who are watching this and who are paying attention to what's going on that it says a lot about the unity of our country, the unity of our people, and our vibe, and how we feel about what's been going on, as well as what we believe has been going on, that you don't see anybody fucking being like, no, you should have taken that deal. Nobody. Not any of the premiers, regardless of political party, no activist groups, no fucking protests, there's not a bunch of fucking Canadian streamers being like, what the fuck are we doing? Oh my god, why are we not negotiating with the United States? Nobody's panicking. Everybody's like, okay, good, all right, moving on to the next thing. We're not going to be stuck on this. This is not something that Canadians are latched onto, that we felt like we needed to make sure we were negotiating with the United States. We are, okay, let's move. We're already over it. We're already past it. And we've already had plans, and we're prepared for if these negotiations did not work out. We're already there. We're 7 steps ahead of where the United States is, and also where the United States thinks that the United States is. So it's
started this fight, but I can assure you, we're going to win this fight.
Yeah, we're not even scared.
Canada definitely didn't start this. That's something that the American government seems to have complete amnesia around. Like, our government is actually mad at Canada for retaliating, for having any problem with what we're doing. How dare you? And it's like,
PNC Bio has an interesting point / question. The United States is the most heavily armed population in the world, with a very strong rule of law. Why aren't there tens of millions of Americans marching in the street every day? I'm baffled, given all of the Second Amendment rhetoric I've heard, all of the rhetoric around guns, all about defending themselves from if the government ever does stuff that they shouldn't be doing. That I am shocked that I still have not heard about ICE agents getting shot in the street. Like I am baffled by the fact that has not happened. Now, I'm not saying that should necessarily happen. I'm not going to take responsibility for that. But I'm shocked that with all the rhetoric and all the bluster that the United States and the people of the United States have had around this, like, imaginary shit that they all wanted to do in relation to, like, why they have guns in the first place, that none of them are using it. And we have the right to do this. We have the right to do this. And then none of you are going to do it? Like, what's the point? What's the point of having the right if you're not going to use your rights? I don't understand.
are we just pretending that we didn't start this? Are we just pretending that we didn't cause all this?
Uh-huh.
Like, what's going on here? I feel like I'm going crazy.
Propaganda. It's because it's propaganda.
Okay, so this is the premier of British Columbia again.
British Columbia's Premier David Eby agrees, saying there were too many deal breakers.
Even Russian forest products have better access to the U.S. market right now than Canadian forest products.
Oh, my computer's doing that thing again. I don't know what that's about. I gotta fix that. I gotta find out what that is. I don't know why. I don't know why it is doing this. We're almost at the end of this video, though, so I want to finish this one before we go. I hope this doesn't I gotta fucking... Something is wrong with my computer, and I don't know what it is. I don't know. I don't know, okay? I don't know what the problem is. I don't understand. I don't know what the issue is. I'm fixing it. Just give me a moment. It seems to happen at roughly like two hours that my system just decides to eat shit for half of a second and then comes back, and I don't know what that's about. I have no idea. I don't know what's causing it. All right, we're back. Oh wait, that's the wrong thing. Hold on, that's the wrong desktop capture. Oh, please hold. Oh, it's doing it again. Oh, there we go. Hi, you're back.
but he's making me spit. It is.
Why did you not change? Change, please. Okay, yes, that is the incorrect one. Now go to the one that I want it to be. Please, and thank you.
Is that true? Excuse me. But he's making me spit. Is that true? Is that serious? Is that a thing? I didn't know that.
No, it's not my fault. It's a technical problem. It's not my fault. It's not me not being a professional.
There. Oh my God. No wonder Canada is just done with us.
Yeah.
There's Russian goods that have better access to the American market than Canadian goods.
And it's lumber.
Forest stuff? What?
Yeah. Surprise.
I don't. What can you even say about that? Maybe that's kind of all you need to hear, frankly. That sums up a lot of what's wrong about what's going on. That's crazy.
And in that environment, the idea that we would be stocking U.S. liquor is absurd.
Expect that
Look at
absurdity
his
to
face.
last, says Manitoba's Wab Canoe, who had been one of the most openly critical of cutting a deal with Donald Trump.
Yeah, I watched him talking the other day, too.
I think the expectation for most Canadians was that we were not going to actually end up cutting a deal with Donald, but we were all going to go through the steps in earnest.
He has a lot of criticisms of Trump and the U.S., yeah.
But we should recognize that
I like him.
Trump administration and the president are deeply flawed.
Yeah.
He's got 2 more years left in office. We should be prepared to duke it out for 2 years.
At least, yeah.
Is that kind of...
Yeah.
Funny enough, from my American perspective, that's almost the mentality I have personally taken.
I think that's part of the problem. I think he's right, and I think a lot of Americans have been like, let's just wait out Donald Trump, and they're just not fighting for the shit that they're going to fight without understanding that the stuff he's doing is going to cost you generations of damage. Generations of damage, both globally and locally.
Because I think a lot of us thought that this big US-Canada trade deal was gonna... Maybe this was gonna be the start of a new beginning. A fresh start between Canada and the US, starting to mend
LOL, no.
this relationship instead of continuing to tear it apart. Now
LOL,
that this
no.
has fallen through, and things are escalating, I don't know what there is to look forward to anymore. Like, I don't know what is supposed to happen at this point.
The Americans are literally looking forward to Trump no longer being alive. That's what they're looking forward to. And they're just hoping that it happens before the end of his term. So they would rather be passive than active. For some reason. Whatever that reason is. Fear, cowardice, lazy, uninformed. I don't know what the reason is. You tell me.
To remedy this situation. Or if it can be remedied. It's that what he is saying, that maybe it's the first step is just waiting for Donald Trump to not be president anymore. Like, unfortunately...
Not just. The problem... This is the problem with the attitude. And again, this is not really a criticism of Tyler. It's the word just. Oh, we're just gonna wait till Donald Trump isn't president. Maybe it's just waiting. No, it's not just waiting. In Canada, we are not just waiting for Donald Trump to not be president anymore. We've been running around the globe. We've been globe-trotting, making other deals and finding other ways because we cannot rely on the United States regardless of Donald Trump because there's nothing stopping Donald Trump from happening in the first place.
It's a fact that he's the president of the United States, and that might be just an insurmountable hurdle to get over for Canada-US relations. For now. Is that just how it is? Maybe. if there was some other country led by someone like Donald Trump,
I think that's how the Canadians have to accept that that is the case, but it is not what the Americans have to accept. The Americans can deal with Donald Trump whenever the fuck they want and however the fuck they want. They're just choosing not to. And Canadians have to accept that the Americans are choosing not to. Right? And then whatever the fallout is going to be to that. Because that's going to cause fallout, because now the Canadians believe that the American citizens are just willing to be walked all over and dog walked by ostensibly a fucking Cheeto Al Capone. That they're just gonna let whoever is there do whatever they want, regardless of their agreements, regardless of the laws that are in place, regardless of fucking anything. So there's no, we can't rely on that that's not gonna be the case anymore, right?
doing all this
Structural
crazy
problem.
stuff to America.
I would actually go so far as to say this is a structural problem and a cultural problem.
We wouldn't want anything to do with them ever. Definitely not until that leader was gone. So
Become the
if I try to
monster.
put myself in Canada's shoes,
But that's not true. Russia does that, and you're willing to work with Russia. We just talked about lumber from Russia and lumber in Canada and the United States. This isn't true. Not anymore. It might have been at one point, but it's not now. Americans are catching up to where America actually is.
or perhaps into your toques and think like you and be objective. That makes sense to me. That makes, and hopefully when Donald Trump is not president anymore, I mean, even after that, I'm curious, like, what's going to happen? Like, can things go back to the way they were?
No.
I'm not sure that could even happen.
No.
Based on...
The answer is no. The Canadians will not accept that. That is a period. End of sentence. And we've been clear that that is, in fact, the case. I'll just look at what Mark Carney's saying. Just look at his approval rating. Look at what the premiers are saying. Look at the Davos speech. Things cannot and will not be the way they were before, and people do not want it that way globally. It's not even just the Canadians. People from Denmark don't want it that way. People from Germany don't want it to go back that direction. Norway, everywhere. Literally nobody wants anything to go back to the way it was, except for the Americans, because that's going to be the new golden age, right? Remember when America was cool and everybody liked us? When that was never actually really the case.
What I'm hearing from Canadians.
And then hopefully sanity will return to America.
The premiers are bracing for job losses and calling for support.
Hopefully sanity will return to America. Indeed.
Yeah, we talked about what Gavin Newsom said yesterday, talking about zero tariffs. There never was zero tariffs. There's never going to be zero tariffs.
I mean, hopefully at least my reactions demonstrate that some of us Americans have some sanity and do not like what is going on. We do not agree at all with what Donald...
It's not enough. I'm sorry, it's not enough. The reaction of the American people who do not like Donald Trump is not enough to satisfy the rest of the world as an explanation. It's not good enough. It's barely anything. Being like, yeah, we don't like it, sorry, is nothing. That's just verbal platitude. What are you gonna do about it? Is it nothing? I think it's nothing. It's
Donald
been
Trump
nothing
is
so
doing
far.
to Canada. And frankly, most Americans don't even know the half of it. Like, I actually go out of my way to try to learn about just how egregious what we're doing to Canada, how egregious this trade deal details were. If Americans knew the whole story, maybe something more would be being said or done on our end. I don't know.
Probably.
If one thing's for
If Americans knew more about not America, you
sure, Americans definitely don't
mean?
do anything to promote change until it really, really, really drastically affects their personal life. That's what
This is why I said this is a structural problem, and I'm willing to put my neck out and say this is a cultural problem. And the cultural problem is part of a proud ignorance and being proud of being stupid. as well, and being stubborn about being like this is a 7 deadly sins situation.
I've learned, because like look at our healthcare problems, our education costs, our costs of housing, and we have a lot of problems outside of our problems with Canada, and we don't even do a good job of addressing those. A lot of Americans are just like content because you can live your life in the U.S. and be pretty.
Are you content, or are you just getting by? Content? I don't think content.
Like for a lot of people, be happy enough, and happy enough is good enough for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's not bad enough yet, but I wouldn't say people are content. It's just not bad enough yet. Yeah, we'll get there.
Especially when you are living your life sort of ignorance of a lot of these problems. So that's a lot of stuff I've been thinking about lately, and it's cool to see, to be able to go online and see
complacent. Yeah, the word he's looking for is complacent.
The Canadian perspective of all this, and sort of get a better idea of the truth of the matter. And it was also kind of therapeutic, I'm not gonna lie, to see what some of these premiers have very honestly to say about Donald Trump. So
the voting system being part of the problem would be the structural half.
Those reasons I enjoyed this, but I really don't know where this is headed at this point. But anyway, if you enjoyed this, feel free to
like, subscribe, join, follow, all that good stuff. I'll make sure this link goes into the description down below. I gotta take off. I have another stream that I gotta do soon, and I'm gonna reset my computer, and hopefully that won't happen while I'm streaming with Chris, because that might be awkward. I'll be back later today after that stream. I'm gonna take a quick break, go grocery shopping, probably, and then I'll come back and do another stream later this afternoon where we'll take a look at some of the other... I've got like a Young Turks video to look at. I've got some other stuff to look at, so... yeah, I'm gonna get on out of here. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it. Like, share, subscribe, and come back a little bit later today. And I will see you soon. Bye-bye.